What up, YouTube? It's your boy Charles Enoch. You already know we back with another Invest in Myself episode. So run the intro. So before we get started, take a little bit of time, hit that like and subscribe button for me. My goal is to reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So I appreciate anybody that takes that time to do so. Much love. So the scenario I'll be showing today comes from one of my younger cousins, and they asked me, hey, how can I pay off all my credit cards quickly? So I wanted to make another example similar to last week, but to make it a little bit more clear what we're doing. So the basic concept when we're using that line of credit to pay off all our credit cards is to free up cash flow. Once we do that, we will then use our line of credit like a checking account to pay that line of credit down quickly. So we're going to be putting all our money onto the line of credit. And once our expenses come due, we will withdraw that money to pay our expenses. So as long as we have consistent cash flow, meaning the income that you bring in is more than the expenses coming out, that cash flow that's left on your line of credit will pay the line of credit off. So I know this may sound confusing, but you already know I got the whiteboard and I got a scenario so we can break this down. Let's go. All right, so we're on the whiteboard. Let's jump in, see what these numbers look like here. So we have an individual income is going to be $5,000 per month. Their expenses are going to be $4,600 per month. In their cash flow, meaning the income minus the expenses, the money left over is going to be $400. So this individual is going to have 5 credit cards here. And credit card number 1 is $1,000. Interest is going to be 25%. Minimum payment that they have to pay per month is $75. Credit card number 2, same thing. Credit card number 3 is going to be $500. Interest rate of 20%, and minimum payment is going to be $50 per month. Credit card number 4 and credit card number 5 is going to be similar or the same as credit card number 3. Now, this individual, they went to the bank, they got a line of credit for $7,000 and a 10% interest rate for that line of credit. Now, let's see how to use this line of credit to pay off your credit cards and then in turn pay off the line of credit. So let's go to the other side of the board. All right, so we're on the other side of the board. Let's take a look and see the equation and the formula to break this down here. So we're in the month of January here. So the first thing that this individual is going to do, they have a $7,000 line of credit. They're going to use $3,500 out of that line of credit, and then they're going to pay off all their credit cards. So they're going to put $3,500 onto their credit cards. Now, when you pay off your credit cards, the minimum payment is part of your expenses that you have to pay. So since we paid those off, that means that our cash flow is going to increase by $300 and our expenses is going to go down by $300, all because we used that line of credit to pay off all our credit cards. Now, the next step is we're going to use our income, $3,500 of our income, and then we're going to pay the line of credit off in full, that $7,000. So whenever you get your income or you get $3,500 of your income, you want to use that onto your line of credit. So again, we're assuming that it's January 1st, your check don't drop. Most people, all their check doesn't drop the $5,000, it just doesn't drop. So you're using that line of credit to first pay off your credit cards there, right? So the next step is we're going to use the remainder income, $1,500, and then we're going to pay our expenses on it. So we're going to pay $1,500 out of the $4,300 of expenses to equal $2,800. Remember, the expenses was $4,600, but again, we paid off our credit cards, which reduced our expenses by $300, right? So the next step, how are we going to pay the remainder of our expenses? Easy. We have our line of credit, which is up to $7,000, right? And then we're going to pay the remainder of our expenses. So when we take a look here, our line of credit, the remaining money on our line of credit is $4,200. So the month of January, the line of credit remaining is $4,200. The line of credit in debt is $2,800. So that's how much we need to pay onto that line of credit to pay it off. And then our credit card debt is zero. All right, so we're in the month of February here. So the first thing we want to note here, this first equation is done. And the reason why it's done is because we've paid off our credit cards and we increased our cash flow. So this step has a magnet over it because it's completely gone basically. So with the month of February, we want to look at what the debt was remaining on our line of credit at the end of January. And that was $2,800. So the first step we're going to do is take $2,800 of our income and we're going to pay off the line of credit, and we're going to raise that thing back up to the $7,000 of available line of credit here. So we paid it off in full. The next step is we're going to take our remainder income, which is $2,200, and we're going to put that towards our $4,300 of expenses. This is going to equal $2,100 left of expenses. And how are we going to pay the remainder of our expenses? Easy. We're going to use our line of credit, the $7,000, and we're going to use $2,100 of it to pay the remainder expenses. That's going to leave us with a remaining balance of $4,900 available in our line of credit. So let's take a look at the month of February. Line of credit that we have available is $4,900. Now the line of credit that we are in debt is $2,100, and the credit card that we are in debt is zero since we paid them all off. All right, so we're in the month of March. So the first thing we want to do is see what our debt was by the end of February here. So our debt was $2,100. So the first thing we're going to do, first step, we're going to take $2,100 of our income, go ahead, pay that line of credit back up to full. So we have $7,000 remaining are available in our line of credit. Now the next step is we're going to take the remainder of our income, $2,900, pay for some of our expenses, about a little over half of our expenses here. So that's going to leave us with $1,400 left in expenses. Now our next step is we're going to use our line of credit. We got $7,000 available because remember we paid it off and paid it in full, right? And then we're going to take $1,400 of the $7,000 that's available, and then that's going to leave us with $5,600 remaining on our line of credit. So let's take a look here for the month of March. $5,600 remaining for our line of credit. The debt that we have on our line of credit is $1,400, and the debt on our credit card is zero since we paid it off at the beginning. All right, so we're in the month of April. So first thing we want to look at is what was our debt at the end of March here. So we see the debt on the line of credit was $1,400. So we're going to take $1,400 of our income, go ahead, transfer that into our line of credit, pay that off in full to make it up to that $7,000 that we have available. So the next step is we're going to take the remainder of our income, $3,600. We're going to put that onto $4,300 of our expenses. We're going to be left with $700 left for expenses. Now our next step is we're going to use that $7,000 line of credit, and we're going to use $700 of it to pay the remainder of our expenses. So we have a remaining balance available on our line of credit of $6,300. So let's look at the end of April here. Remaining balance on line of credit, $6,300. And then our debt on our line of credit is $700, and the debt on our credit card is zero. All right, let's bring out the champagne bottles. We're in the month of May, about to pay everything off here. So let's go through it here. So the month of May, we want to see what our debt was at the end of April. So we see the debt for our line of credit was $700. We're going to take $700 of our income. We're going to put it to the line of credit, pay it off in full. So we have $7,000 available. Our next step is we're going to use our remainder income, which is $4,300, to pay off all of our expenses. So our expenses are paid off, zero. Next step, we see that we have the $7,000 line of credit with zero expenses. So our line of credit remaining is $7,000. So we have everything paid off. So again, this is a perfect scenario, but we want you just to get the velocity banking method on when you're using that line of credit to pay off all your credit cards. So again, the reason why we're using that line of credit to pay off all our credit cards is it increases our cash flow and it reduces our expenses. So remember, our expenses was $4,600, but once we paid off all our credit cards, it went down to $4,300. So we're using that extra cash flow to stuff that into our line of credit to pay that off even quicker, as opposed to just having a cash flow of the $400, right? So that's the reason why we're doing it. So if this video was helpful, definitely give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel and go ahead and share this. Let's say share this to 5 other individuals. We want to make sure to get this across to the masses here for the best method of paying off and down your debt. So like always, you guys have a blessed day. Peace out.